Well, North Adelaide came to the Alberton Oval to face the Magpies pretty confident. They were sitting in 5th position, 3 wins and 3 losses on the season, and with a pretty good record. Their last 3 trips had been successful to Alberton, and there were times when they did look good, but generally speaking, the Magpies way too desperate for the Roosters. Andrew.
Yeah, coming off a disappointing loss against the Bloods the week before, where they really didn't come to play and didn't have the intensity required at the level. They really came out of the blocks today and really had a real crack. Their tackling was spot on, but their crumbing forwards, as we've seen those goals there from Sam Gray and finally Steve Summerton, they were fantastic. North Adelaide did force their way back into the game through individual brilliance there by Lee Riswick, though.
If we look at the scoreboard overall, the margin was 26 points at its highest, but generally for the game it was around that 10 to 15 point. We always thought that it would be the Roosters would come in a rush. The Magpies were actually never headed, but as I said, it was somewhere between that 2 and 3 goal margin for most of the game.
You expected the class of the Roosters to eventually get over the top, you know, and Bennett there is one of the players who's a very classy player through the midfield as far as the Roosters are concerned. James Allen, those type of players, you expected their link up. They certainly looked and moved the ball a little bit better. But the Magpies just kept on keeping on and found a way to win. And there's a very impressive youngster, Corey Grove, who had a real impact on this game. But once again, with his intensity, but also his willingness to work hard.
Another thing that is worthwhile noting out of this, Steve Summerton kicking this goal. He was fantastic this afternoon. Big mark here by Lewis Johnston on the Adelaide AFL list, and he kicked a goal. And this action from the last quarter as they closed hard. But interesting to note, you mentioned Jimmy Allen, the 3-time McGarry medalist, getting reported, and the man who played on him was actually the player that we thought was probably the best on ground, in Daniel Kilikowski. Now there's the quarter by quarter. It was 20 points to Port Adelaide at quarter time, 15 at half time, 14 at 3/4 time. It kept coming down, but in the end, 10 points the Magpies get away with their first victory since round 1.
And really set it up in the first quarter. When the game was there to be won, their intensity was fantastic. We've got to look at the stats there. Inside 50s certainly evened up after quarter time. Centre breaks certainly favoured the Roosters, but the possessions well down on the Roosters. They normally average 330 a game. You can see there they've only averaged 281. Didn't get enough for the footy, weren't desperate enough, and when the game was there to be won, the Magpies were the team that stood up.